ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. So today we'll be talking about, you guessed it, Gurmat Sangeet. Just put two panktis up here that we probably have heard before. That Maharaj is giving us the hukam to not only sing Gurbani but also incorporate rag with it as well, with kirtan as well. So Kal Jug mein kirtan pardana Gurmukh japiya laye tyana aap tarai sagle kulatare had dargah pat syo jayeda. And this from Anand Sahib, Satgur tapaya sahaj siti man vajya vadaya rag ratan parvar pariya sabd gavan aya. So rag ratan, you'll see rag come up a lot in Gurbani. I'll just do it this way. Okay. So before we start, we'll do a quick benti to Maharaj. Okay. Maharaj Sache Paatshah, ਅਸੀਂ ਅਣਜਾਣ ਬੱਚੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਨੇਕਾਂ ਗਲਤੀਆਂ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ, ਭੁੱਲ-ਚੁੱਕ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨੀ, ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਰਾਗ ਵਿਦਿਆ ਦੀ ਦਾਤ ਬਖਸ਼ਣਾ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਰਾਗਾਂ ਦੀ ਦਾਤ ਬਖਸ਼ਣਾ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ. So I'll try to keep my pinjas out of the way, but everything that I say is something that I've been taught along my way. But I'll try to keep my opinion out of the way as much as I can. And please ask questions or any clarifications you have. Please go, because I might say some confusing things. So Sikhi and Rag. So we'll start with Guru Nanak Dev Ji and what type of sangeets were prevalent at the time. So these three are the types of sangeet, the ways of singing that were there. There was one called Darbari, which is that sangeet, that type of singing that was sung in a darbar, in all these rajas and kings and all those high politician people. And basically, this type of sangeet was there to please them. It was there only to show off musical excellence, right, and kind of entertain, but also prove how good I am in front of a raja. Lok or Bazari is more in terms of more folk tunes or more common people tunes. So it was sung for the common people, but it was also maybe some people could make a profit for it, or also entertainment. And then the last one is Margi or Nirankari, and this was sung by sadhus, by sons, and this was the type of singing that they want to connect right to Paramatma, right to the divine themselves. So Margi or Nirankari, this is kind of where Guru Nanak Dev Ji fits in, but Guru Nanak Dev Ji made this type of singing accessible to everyone, to all the common people there. And the main thing about Margi is, at least Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the way Bhai Mardana Ji sang, or the way Guru Nanak Dev Ji sang, was all in very slow Drupad style. I'll sing a little bit later to give you an example of what that's like, but very, very slow tunes and really sahaj ras, and trying to focus exactly on the Gurbani, but very slow and extending the words very long. Versus now what you might hear in a rag is very drut, is very fast singing. It was more sajnal, it was more relaxed back then. So rag, what is rag itself? Rag can be described as a scale, but that's a very bland definition. Rag has certain sequences that go up and down, certain things you can do, certain things you can't do within those notes. And also it has there's basically different emotions associated with the rag. The rag will be given to a certain shabad as well to evoke a certain meaning. And the rag has a certain time of day as well, and even some rags have different seasons. So right now you might hear a lot of Malhar. Malhar is sung during the rainy April, May, June, July type seasons. Versus Basant, which is more March. And then there's a plate and food analogy. So with the rag and Gurbani, how they incorporate each other. It shouldn't be seen that rag is singing one way and Gurbani is singing kirtan is another way. They're supposed to be together. Guru Sahibs are giving us rag to connect to the Gurbani. So it's not like, if I'm going to sing a rag, or they're either going to sing like my different tune of Gurbani. So the plate and flute analogy is like Gurbani is like the food and a plate. Obviously that's the main thing when you're eating something is the food, but the way you present the food, the utensils, the plate, the setup of it is the rag. That's how you evoke the Bani, right? That's how you present it. And we have such a rich history of singing Gurbani and singing Kirtan. So this is just an old picture of Darbar Sahib, but basically Bhai Baldeep Singh, who comes from a lineage of Kirtanis, all from Guru Arjan Dev Ji's time, that still lives today. Bhai Baldeep Singh describes the way the Parikrama was set up as you couldn't walk more than 10 steps without running into a rababi. A rababi is just someone who follows the Muslim, who comes from a Muslim tradition, like either from the Mardana lineage or just anyone who came from a Muslim background. But those who sung in Iraq, you couldn't walk 10 steps without running into someone doing their abiyat, their practice of singing Gurbani. And also think about Darbar Sahib back then. You don't have any mics. Obviously no Vajay. Vajay were brought in by the British. You have no mics. So this, I've heard stories of people getting in Darbar Sahib hours before. Imagine this mahal. Getting in there hours before just to hear the Gurbani. Because chances are if you're in the Parkarma, it might be a little hard to hear it. So going there, reserving their spot in a way, just to listen to how amazing that Gurbani was. Again, no mics. So you're going to have multiple double Gs as well. Maybe 5 or 6 around, not just one. And you're going to have multiple singers, multiple durwa players, any type of saj that we talk about. Saj just means instrument. And that's kind of the mahal that was there at the time. Yeah, I'll talk about something else later. I don't know. Okay, just going to do it this way. Okay, so how did Guru Sahib actually include a rag in Gurbani? So, fun fact, about 95% of shabads in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj are actually written in rag, right? Rag Asa Mehla Pehla, right? Rag Guji Mehla Chautha, right? We read it every day, but we just kind of glaze over it, and then we get to the shabad. So Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj is actually divided in rag. I'm not trying to compare it to other texts, other religious texts, but those texts are actually divided by either a chapter, a theme, a specific message. But imagine, rag is so important that Guru Granth Sahib Ji is divided by rag. They could divide it by different topics if they wanted, if Guru Sahib wanted to. But it's actually divided by rag. I don't know, does anyone know how many rags there are in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj? 73. 73, anyone else want to guess? There's 31, you could say, Nirdharat rags, which are just Asa, Gujari, Sri. And then there's also 31 extra Mishrat rags. I'll talk about that maybe on the slide. But basically 62 in total. But if anyone asks you on a quiz, it's like 31 or 62, it's the same thing. So I'll explain that a little later. But yeah, it's basically the heading of each shabad. So Guru Sahib could have put the rag at the end if they wanted to. If rag was so important, they put it actually in the middle, right in the beginning of the shabad. Again, most shabads. They're putting it right in the beginning, even before the Mahalla, Panjwa, Mahalla, Pehla, anything. Before even saying who wrote the Gurbani, they're putting the rag. So there's obviously some importance given to it. Meaning of Gad. So Gad, we've actually lost the meaning. This is how our rag video has decreased over the years through British, through partition, everything. And basically, Gad, we've lost the meaning, but people will give the meaning now as mentioning the tal. So if it's mentioning the rag, it'll also mention the tal right after. And this might be a little complex, but basically, Gar Pehla is indicating one tal. And this is just a theory that people agree. So Gar Pehla is one tali. So one tali actually goes along with Dadra tal, which is 6 beats. And then Gar Duja is do tali, which is Rupak. Gartija is tin talis, tin tal. So these are different tals. And then Chautal, Panchthal. And it goes to Sataravan, it goes to 17 different gars. So we're talking about like 40, 50 beat cycles. Then again, that our ancestors knew this knowledge of, that play different cycles. It's absolutely insane. But that's the vidya that we've lost, basically. Does anyone know what a Paratha is, besides just changing tal? So Partal, and I'll show one later maybe, but Partal is basically changing the tal throughout the Shabad. So you'll even see some, and Guru Sahibs have written this at the top of the Shabad, Partal, they'll write that at the top, which means the Antre, or the lines that are not the Rahau Pankti, you'll actually change the tal when you get to those beats. And I just thought it was, you just changed the tal, but it's changing the tempo and the tal in a way that it still fits in the original cycle, time-wise. It'll actually fit in. And when I found that out, it blew my mind that this is how much knowledge and how much music excellence that our ancestors had, that they could fit different antre in it. So then Mishra rags, I explained that a little bit, but an example is Gauri Maj. Those are two different rags, but Guru Sahib is actually combining them. They're basically on an ascending would be Gauri, and when you come down in the scale, it'd be Maj. So insane amount of knowledge to do this. And they're inventing these as well on the spot. Rag Gauri Deepki, Rag Gauri Purvi. These are all Mishra rags as well. Parbati Bibas is one rag where on the ascending it's Parbati and descending it's Bibas. And then there's also another Mishra rag called Bibas Parbati, which is the opposite. Upwards, when you go up the scale, is Bibas, and downwards is Parbati. And Chant. Chant means there's no Raha Pankti. And here in these types, you actually don't really repeat the next line. So basically in Asa Ki Var, you don't, when you read the like Asa Mela Chauta, Chant Gara Chauta, so that section and each one of the 24 chakke that there are, you actually don't keep repeating the pankti. I can give an example later. This kabit comes from Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. Bajat basant ar pairav hindol rag, bajat hai lalata ke saath hai tanasri. Malwa kalyan ar mal ko samaru rag, ban mein bajawe kanara mangal nivasri. So this is actually a shabad that I've heard, that because they're mentioning all these different rags. Bajat basant ar pairav hindol rag, bajat hai lalata is rag, ke swat hai tanasri. That's 5 rags just in one pankti. Yeah.
Is that Krishna Avatar?
Krishna Avatar, yeah. So this is basically it's 5 rags mentioned in one, and how some kirtanis will sing it is they'll sing it such slowly that each rag they'll change the rag. They'll change the rag while they're singing, which is very difficult to do. And you can even look it up. It's called a guldasta. Guldasta is just a bouquet of flowers, but it's like each full is like a different rag. That's how it got its name, guldasta. Okay. So we talked a little bit how rag is incorporated in Sikhi and Gurbani, but let's just talk about some Tantisaj. Tantisaj just means saj that was there during Guru's time, but our Gurus actually created instruments as well, which I'll get to. So this is how percussion really started, pakawaj. You might have heard this, or mridang. Mridang is just a little smaller version of a pakawaj, or a dolki. We've all seen like a dolki. This is not the same thing, but similar idea. Basically, this is a very, very big instrument. Someone will be sitting here and playing both sides of it, but in order to get the loud resonance, because you don't have mics back then, you actually roll atta and you put it on here. There's only a handful of pakawaj players nowadays, but you actually roll the atta on the tabla on this side, and basically it'll make a huge, loud, low sound. And I've even heard it's there to resonate with our lower frequencies. And it's all like scientific as well. But then even during Guru Arjan Dev Ji's time, the pakawaj was basically cut in half to make the jodi. So this is just the 2 halves put together, here with the pakawaj and the jodi. So jodi is still Tantisaj, and here you just roll atta on this side. And you'll even see jodi players now, because the atta is sukha, so you basically have to keep some pani as well to keep it wet. So basically, and it's really fun fact that does anyone know where the tablaji sits in Hanumandir Sahib? Is it close to Guru Sahib or is it farthest? Furthest, right? That's because there would be atta flying everywhere, how hard you were hitting it, that you can't put it right next to Guru Sahib, you have to keep it as far as you can. And even now, you'll see atta flying when people play it. I've seen, after you see the area, it's all atta filled. There's atta everywhere, it's like, oh my god. Okay, and then basically what we now know is basically the tabla. So it's not too different, but it's more technical. It's a lot more smaller movements, titikita. But this is more loud banging, because again, you need to project this awaz. And instead of the atta, it's now covered by a black part. So black part is on both. It's called the siyahi. That is there again for resonance. If you actually take that black part out, it's just like dung, dung, dung. There's no resonance to it.
So wait, was the black part on the... Wait, I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. So the black part, the siyahi, was on this jodi as well. And also on this pakawaj nowadays. Back then, I can only assume it was atta for both. For both. I can only assume. That I might have to do more research on. So some string instruments. So we have, I've labeled each one. Does anyone know which Guru Sahib created the taos? Har Gobind Sahib, yeah. And Guru Har Gobind Sahib was very tall as well. And the taos, if you look at this taos, is very much bigger than this taos. Yeah.
I was just going to say back on like the tabla side, they made like I'm pretty sure they made like this one, the tabla, because like they put the shai on it because microphones couldn't handle like the...
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, when mics were there, even the jodi, it's such a loud noise. I've even heard people don't even put mics on that side because it's too loud. It's too vibrant. So yeah, Taos was created by Guru Har Gobind Sahib, and then it shifted towards the Dilruba during Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj, because more traveling, more horseback riding, you can't carry such a big instrument as well. So it kind of got shortened to Dilruba, but I guess you could say the first instrument in Sikhi was the Rabab. And Rabab, now if you actually hear Rabab, if you look up an Afghani Rabab, it's a very narrow one and ding 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 ding. But this is more sajda. It's more louder, lower sounds, and it's not played like this. It's usually played like this way. So that's the Rabab. So really, what Bhai Mardana played was probably more close to something like this, more with a rounder bass. Then Saranda, Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj actually created the Saranda. This Sant Baba Sham Singh, which I'm sure a lot of you know. But Saranda is an even smaller version of the Dilruba. It's very, very small, but it's very hard to play because you actually play it with, I guess you could say, your cuticles. You don't play it with a Dilruba or a Taos, you play it with the base of your finger. This you actually play here. You're gonna bleed. Same thing with the Sarangi as well. That was there during Guru Arjan Dev Ji's time. But now, I don't know if you guys know, but it's actually banned from being played in Harmandir Sahib. And the SGPC says because it used to be played, and they're not wrong. It used to be played for like dances and people dancing and stuff. But same thing about the vaja, same thing about the tabla, right? So it's like, what's the argument there? Sarangi, it's such a beautiful instrument. It actually is there to mimic your awaz. And if you really close your eyes and listen to a sarangi, it'll actually sound like someone singing themselves. It's really cool. And then tanpura. So tanpura is probably one of the biggest instrument out here, and it's actually this sound right here. It makes this sound. It makes a drone sound. So there is just to establish your sa, establish your bass, So now when we sing, it's usually just on a vaja, and we might play like one note in the beginning. But the tanpura is what you really wanted to match to back then. Again, because imagine you're learning kirtan for the first time, and there's no vaja. What do you start with? You start with a note, and you start with your avaz. That's the only way to start with it. You can't just pick up a Dilruba and be like, oh, I'm going to play it, because it takes a couple years to get a good note out of it. Tanpura. So Tanpura, this is Professor Kartar Singh. He's 90-something years old. He's such an amazing kirtani, has so much knowledge, and teaches so many people as well. But this is the way I've heard that Guru Gobind Singh Ji largely did amount of their kirtan, just sitting with the Tanpura. You don't really need an instrument to sing. You just need a Tanpura to sing. Any questions? Sorry. No, I might be going fast. Okay. That da-na-na-na-na-na is a swar mandal. Swar mandal is just an instrument that you just pluck. It just adds some flavor to it. Sorry. I'll play it again. That's actually a physical instrument. I'm just playing it through an app, but maaf karna. Okay. Okay. So common misconceptions about Rag and Rag Vidya and Gurmat Sangeet. I've heard this argument, just sing with love, and this idea. And I'm not against that, but Guru Sahibs are creating the Rag, literally creating rags and mixing rags and giving rags to evoke this love in the Gurbani, right? They're not trying to separate it at all. And you'll never hear this argument with anything else. Just read Gurbani with love. And you guys are all Santya Ustads. So it's like, oh, just read with love. Doesn't matter if you're pronouncing this akhar right. You'll never hear that argument. But when it comes to singing or presenting the Gurbani, you'll hear this argument. Just sing with love. So, I mean, it's kind of just like a back and forth. I mean, the rag is there to help you connect to the Gurbani and actually feel that rag as well. So only 6 sang kirtan. I'm pretty sure all of you know this, but our heritage, Bhai Mardana ji, everyone came from different types of religious paths. Only 6 sang kirtan. So this is by Taba. By Taba was pre-partition. Pre-partition, he was the Hajuri Ragi of Harmandir Sahib. Imagine what partition did, and then SGPC after that. But Bhai Taba was of the Muslim tradition. So he was actually Hajuri Ragi, and he had a whole collection of Purtaan Reets, obviously, because he's passed down this tradition and survived colonialism, all that. So like all these Reets survived colonialism is what I was trying to say. And it's really cool because he actually, Bhai Taba, taught Bibi Jaswant Kaur. Bibi Jaswant Kaur passed away pretty recently, like 2010, but she also lived very, very long, and we have recordings of her Purtaan Reets. When I say Purtaan Reets, I'm talking about very old compositions. that are being preserved usually through family lineage, but also through teaching. So Bhai Taba not only taught Bibi Jaswant Kaur, who has really nice Puratan Reets on YouTube, on some of the resources I'll send you, and then also Namdaris. Has anyone heard of Namdaris in general? So Namdaris, some people will bash them because they basically believe Guru Gobind Singh Ji passed the Gurgaddi to another physical Sarup Guru, and that lineage is still going. So they worship a physical Guru, but just like a Hindu or Muslim, I mean, anyone can sing Gurbani, so why can't they? And basically, this is their Satguru Jagjit Singh. He's passed away now, but he learned again directly from Bhai Taba. So basically, kind of split there, and they have preserved so many Puratan Reets. We owe them a great deal to the Namdaris. The way they sing right now is only Tantisaj. You'll rarely see a Vaja, and they've preserved so many Reets. And I love listening to their kirtan. Does anyone know who this is? Second, Bhai Gulam. Oh yeah, they are Bhai Gulam Muhammad Chand. Imagine if I told you by Mardana Ji we have access to him. You'd be like, send me his way. Huh? This is Bhai Gulam Muhammad Chand, 16th or 17th descendant of Bhai Mardana Ji in the family. So he passed away 2015. But again, we have recordings of him on YouTube. We have recordings of him, just audio recordings. We have just recordings of him. But amazing, they've kept some of the reeds. I'll sing some really quick. Then extra words added to Gurbani. Some of you might have heard Mere Pyare added, or Vava, Hom Vari Jama, or Ji even added. So these extra words, some people, even I, like in the beginning, I was like, why are we changing the Gurbani? It's not should, anything like that. But then these words aren't there to try to change the meaning of the Gurbani. They're just added. I've heard that people were so in like Sahajavasta, you could say, when singing, that these words would just come out. That's what I've heard. But these, and when we look at these Puratan Reets, they're filled with these types of words. Mere Pyare, Vawa. If you guys are really interested, reach out to me. I'll give you one shabd by Bibi Jaswant Kaur. You're like, this is the Gurbani she's reading? It's like you're adding so many different words to it, changing it. I was like, holy crap. But and then need an instrument to sing. So I've mentioned that. You don't need an instrument to sing. You just need your avaz. Right? The vaja and the dilrba, the taos, anything, the rabab, that's all just accompaniment. The main thing is just your avaz. And Maharaj di hukum hai, gaviya suniya mana rakhiya pao. So you just need to sing basically. So I'll sing, first I'll sing a Puratan Reet, just a couple lines of each shabad. Just a couple lines of, one with a vava in it. And you can kind of hear it. Let me just look it up really quick. So this is Asa, and it's also a chant as well. So Ikunkar Satgur Prasad Asa Mehla Pehla Chant Gar Tija. I'll just sing the first two panktis. So this is Rag Asa. And Ek Tal. Ek Tal is 12 beats. You can try to count it if you'd like. Sa re re ga sa ma re ma pa ga sa re ga sa. तू सुन हरना तू सुन हरना कालिया वा कालिया की वारी राता राम जी की वारी राता राम जी की बारी राता राम बिख फल मीठा चार दिन वावा चार दिन फिर होवता राम जी फिर होवता राम फिर हो. So that was just two panktis of that shabad. Asa. So you'll notice I'm adding G at the end, I'm adding Vawa. So this is just a Puratani that I've been taught. But this is just an example of a one with Vawa. Also a chant that I wouldn't go back to Tu Sunahadana. The way a chant is sung, or like Hare Prema Bani Man Mare Ane Ale Ane Ram Raje. And then you'll go to the next pankti as well. You don't repeat with a chant. So, okay, so that was just one shabad. Okay, so then I'll sing more of a Drupad style. So Drupad basically is just a lot slower. This is a Chautal, or Chartal. Chartal is 12 beats. And this is mainly sung with a lot of Paratha and Kirtan. It's a Ra Kandra, so I'll put this one up as well. So this is an example of Partal written at the top. Kanara, Mehla, Chauta, Partal, Ghar Panjwa. So again, the Ghar Panjwa is kind of lost a bit. So I'll just sing the first part, but just notice how slow this shabad goes. Sa re ga ga ma re re sa re ma pa ni da ni pa ma pa ni ne sa ne pa ma pa ga ga ma re sa. So another thing about string instruments and vaja, the vaja you can only hit certain notes, but with singing or with taus I can show you later, you'll basically you can do a meend is what it's called. You can glide between notes. Pa ga ga ma re ni sa. Basically, you can blend between the notes because it's all just one string or one voice. Rama He Gopal Alama Anajapa Rama He Gopal Hare Gurmukh Kara Tak Sa Al Hare ho kirpa So this shabad, I just sang this part, but then the antare or the multiple antaras, even you can just visually see it. Tumare gun agama gochar ek jih kya katha bichari ram 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 la ram 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 lal. So even this, that pankti is so much different than these introducing panktis. So, and I can even scroll a bit. It goes like that for the whole shabad. So I can just sing one antara just so you can hear it. But basically, this is Jaata, and you can just notice how slow it is, how Saj Ras it's trying to be. And this actually comes from Bhai Taba as well. So Namdaris have this reet, Bibi Jaswant Kaur has this reet. Even Bhai Avtar Singh, Ragi, if you guys have heard of him. Bhai Avtar Singh, I showed one picture of a taus with him, but they all have held this composition. So this is very old, a very, very old composition. So I'll sing one antara. Hopefully I'm not boring anyone. Yeah. तुम्हारे गुण अगम गोचर तुम्हारे गुण अगम गोचर एक जी क्या कथ बिचारे राम 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 लाल राम 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 लाल तुम्हारी जिया कथ कथा तुम्हारी जिया कथ कथा तू ही जान तू ही जान ओ हर जप पे निहाल 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 मान जाबो. So this shabad is also a 12-beat ektal cycle, and basically the tempo would fit in properly. I didn't sing it that way, but it's kind of hard to explain. But even these Purtaan Reets are also, the way they're singing it is trying to evoke the actual, the meaning of the shabad. It's not just taking a random tune that you've heard and putting the shabad to it. It's putting a tune to the shabad, which is the opposite of what we do now. Basically, and I only know very little, but even the nihal, nihal, even that is trying to evoke that nihal, what that feeling is like. And then there's another shabad, Preet Preet Guriya, Mohan Lalana, that I'm sure some of you have heard of. If there's time at the end, I'll show you. Even I've heard some examples of that. Basically, the shabad talks a little bit sometimes of, when you're stuck in Maya, and those parts are low, and those parts are slow. It's kind of like sluggish. And then, Ab sadhu sang padya. And then once you find sadhu sang, once you find na, that it goes higher and it goes faster as well. It's like a rush. So again, the tune is matching the shabad, which is the big thing. And these are in so many different. Why is that up? But there's so many different tunes. There's so many different rita that have this khajane. Okay, so let me go back to my. This ended up taking longer than I did. I did want to go through a shabad real quick. I don't know if we'll have time, but I can ask Bhai Supreet Singh. Okay, let me pause this. I can play it. So here, let me. Oh, yeah, okay. So this is Rag Suhi, 15 beat cycle. It's called Panchthal or Panchthal Ki Sawari, 15 beat cycle. And then after, yeah, so this is kind of the second time he's gone back to the Rahal Pankti. This is the second Antara that he's singing. I'll play it and then I'll pull the Shabad up as well. Sorry. It's the loudest it can go. This is by Avtar Singh. This is Partal as well. So even I've heard a quick explanation. Avara is actually like a negating sound, supposedly. So Japa Mana Govinda Eka Avara Nahi Ko Lekha. So even that Avara is trying to evoke that as Avara Nahi Ko Lekha Japa Mana Govinda Eka. So this is the slow part. That was a change. Even if you notice, even he went through these punktis very, very quickly. It was just a guy in the tarika si. So yeah, these recordings are out there. All you have to do for that one is just search Bhai Avtar Singh. So Bhai Avtar Singh, who I showed, I didn't really talk about him. This picture, again, he's passed away now, but his family used to do kirtan in Guru Arjan Dev Ji's darbar. He's the 12th generation. So these rita are been passed down in their family, and they have books and books of these rita. I can show you a quick example of one. So this is like a PDF version of his book. It explains, okay, Rag Bilawal, all the notes in it. This is this actually, you could call it Mishra Rags, Aliya Bilawal. And then it'll go over, okay, the shabd is Sant Pai Gur Sadgur Pure. And basically this is saying the tal, and then you match it up. So this is like Sa, Dha, Pa, Ma. But this is a very, very hard way to learn for beginners. I don't know where you guys are with Rag, but basically this is very, very hard to learn from. So it's helpful to actually have an ustad to teach you from this, or teach you it. But yeah, Bhai Avtar Singh, so he has a son, Bhai Kultar Singh. I was able to do one class with Bhai Kultar Singh, so he taught us 4 different Shabad. And it happened just in New Jersey, so it's not like you have to go to India to learn these Reets. They're very prevalent. Yeah, so I don't know if I will have time to teach this Shabad, but this is basically just a picture of some. So this is the Namdari Jaata, basically here. One thing you'll notice, no Vaja. They're all mainly playing this Taos, Dilruba, Dilruba. This is actually a Jodi. That's what a Jodi looks like. Looks very similar to the Tabla. The Dugi is bigger. I have a couple more minutes. You sure?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So maybe I'll get you guys to sing then, if you guys are in the mood. I don't know. So yeah, even this long picture, sitar, taos, dotara, I have actually no idea what that is. This is just a weird way of spelling tanpura. Siranda, rabab, tabla. But even that tabla is actually a jodi. You can see how big the dugi is, how big this thing is. Again, you need all your strength to bang that. I've tried. If you hit it a little bit, you're not getting anything out of it. So this is, who remembers what this instrument is called? Pakawaj. You guys took one thing out. Good. I'm kidding. So yeah, so this is someone who learns from Bhai Baldeep Singh. So again, a part of the Bhai Avtar Singh tradition. And she's playing a tanpura, but it's actually just lied down. That's what she's strumming. So again, no saj besides just a drone. That's all she's singing with. And Pakawaj, it's a very hard instrument to play.
Is it harder than like a jodi? Isn't it the same thing? Or
Jodi is easier because you're just sitting upright and playing. This is sideways. I mean, I think there's a reason why there's a lot more Jodi players than there's Pakawaj players. And also just weight. This is going to be a lot heavier and probably harder to transport than maybe that. But again, the atta is the same for both. You have to make atta right before.
so like, is a Pakawaj player a jodi player, but a jodi player is not a Pakawaj player?
I'm sure both of them can figure it out. Yeah, I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard to transition. Rabab, right here as well. And then Professor Kartar Singh is singing, again, 90-something years old. And he's holding just a tanpura. And that's how big, it doesn't even fit in the photo. That's how tall it is. But it's actually not too heavy. It's a hollow instrument. And then, yeah, we have a siranda as well, right next to it. But again, the main thing is, Guru Sahibs are creating these instruments. There's no vaja, and I'll play a little bit. I know I keep saying that, but I'll play a little bit of the taas so you can hear it. This is just, if you ever hear the word donkey, or in Gurmat Sangeet, it kind of encompasses 4 different things. So in really Puratan Kirtan, and you have recordings of this as well, you'll start with the shan. So that's just Tantisaj and a tabla, no Gurbani at all. You first need to get everyone's mind a little bit shant and focus on the Gurbani. You don't want to jump into it right away. So that's a shan, and that's very, very well documented in history that's been a thing. And then Mangala Charan. So Mangala Charan, have you guys heard of what a Mangala Charan is? Just like before, like a katha or something. But this Mangala Charan, like He Prananath Gobind, or Dando Tabandan Anagwar. So these Mangala Charans nowadays will be like 5 minutes max. But then it was like 30 minutes long. You're not even in the Shabad yet because you have the Shan first. Then you have a 30-minute Mangala Charan, which is just kind of preparing everyone's mind for the actual Gurbani. We're not even at the Shabad yet. And then you finally get to the Shabad. And even that is Sajdas. It's not jumping right in. It's slowly. And then you'll usually end it with a Pauri or a Vad. Yeah, there's a lot of Pauris in that. So I think Supreet Singh gave me the okay to teach a Shabad real quick. I don't know. Are you guys in the mood to sing or not really? Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Okay. So these are the typical notes. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. We'll sing in a scale. Actually, we can maybe sing in we'll sing in more feminine scale. Just to... So I don't know if you guys... So basically, on a vaja, let's just say, female scale will be a lot lower. They can sing lower notes, but that's because their voice is just naturally higher. Men's can technically sing higher on a vaja, but it's because their voice is just naturally lower. So you guys can pick who has the higher voice. No, I'm kidding. Okay. So we'll learn Bilawal. So Bilawal is the main rag that a lot of people start out with, just because it's a very simple rag. So hopefully this isn't too high for... Okay, can everyone sing with me? Sa. Good. Very good. Okay. So actually, no. So it's good when you're singing. If you want to develop your voice, ragis now will take 5 minutes just of doing, not 4 or 5 minutes, but 5 minutes off and on, just building out their voice. You need to build a steadiness, right? Even now, I fluctuate a lot. So yeah, so you want to take a big breath in when you do it, and then really project out and hold it for as long as you can, okay? So, okay, so we'll just sing through one scale. Okay, we'll just do, so I'll sing it once and then we can all just do it together, right? Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. We'll start from there. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. And if it gets too high, please don't push it. Yeah. So sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. And then we'll work our way down. Sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Both of it. We'll do a couple of those. Sa re ga. Sa. See, it's naturally in you. I don't know how many of you have done singing lessons. And even I was thinking during Sohela Sahib, we sing Karo binanti suno mere mita. I'm about to blow your minds. You're singing in jap tal. When you sing that, that's 10 beats. And when you sing the next pankti, you're actually changing tal to mat tal, which is 9 beats. So I'll count really quick. Just count on my fingers. So I'm going to count 10 for the first one and then 9. So Karo binanti suno mere mita sant tahal ki bela Ihan kaat. Do you guys see that? I stopped at 9. Ihan kaat chalo har laha aage basan sohela. How'd you guys know? How'd you guys know to start there? It's crazy. 10, 9, 10, 9. It's not easiest, but it started from when you guys were kids, right? It just was ingrained. That's how Rag used to be taught. People would just be in the world of Rag. Rag was just sung everywhere. Everyone knew Rag. Everyone knew this tal and had the understanding of it. Okay, we'll just do one more time. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. Sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Okay, so Rag Bilawal. So this is basically Rag Bilawal. The only difference is ascending is called Aro, descending is called Avro. You might have heard these words before. This is just translated into English. So the only thing you might notice is sa re ga ma pa ni da ni sa. Sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. So different people have different schools of thought with Bilawal. But for basics, we'll just do sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. Sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. I won't really explain what you can do and what you can't do because that's a little intense, but we'll keep it like that. So now we know what Bilawal is. This is what Bilawal sounds like. You guys might have heard this tune. Ga ma re ga pa ma ga re sa ni sa pa re ga ma pa ma ga. Main aayi prabh sab kich tera. This is Bilawal. Or even Sant Pai Gur Sat Gur Pure. So literally, you could put any tune to this rag or do this tune, any shabad to this tune. But again, this isn't like a Puratan Reet. I know I was talking about Puratan Reeta before. This is just a tune in Bilawal, but there's, I guess, nothing wrong with that. Next class, we'll only do Puratan Reets. And then, I'm kidding. And then, so let's work also with the tal, Rupak. Rupak is 7 beats. Do you know Rupak? You said so? You do? Okay. So, just count with me. We'll just do. And basically, these are talis. So, you can, let's just clap on 0, 1, and 2, okay? So, I'll start and just come in when you're in. Din, din, na, din, na, din, na. Din, din, na, din, na, din, na. Din, din, na, din, na, din, na. Din, din, na, din, na, din. So this is a very simple version. You might hear din, din, na, din, din, na, na, din, din, na, na, din, din, na, din, din, na, na, din, din, na, na. So even just doing din, din, na, na, it's still one beat. It's just doing a double beat. That's the best way I can explain it. Okay, so let's get to the actual shabad, if we are very excited to. Okay, so the shabad is Prabh ji, tu mere pran adhar hai. And this shabad comes from Bhai Mohkum Singh. So there's a very good chance that this is a Puratan Reet. And it's one of the simplest shabd that I was able to find, so it shouldn't be too bad. So I'll sing a little bit of it. Okay, yeah, let me do this. Okay, and I'll show you a little bit what Bilawal is like. Oof, I'm playing very informally. I apologize. Okay, I'll play formally. So common tunes in Bilawal will be Re Ga Ma Pa Ma Ga. Pa Ga Pa Ni Da Ni Sa. So the way the shabd goes is in Rupak. So I'll start playing the ta, and you guys can just sing along. It's easier to just sing rather than be like, oh, sa re ga ma pa, like all these notes. This is just maybe for you guys to use later, but here, let me just feel free to sing along as well. Yeah, this is wrong ta. So this is din din na din na din na. Din din na din. Tu mere pran aadhar prabh ji. Tu mere pran aadhar prabh ji. Tu mere pran aadhar prabh ji. So the next pankti is Namaskar Dandot Bandana Namaskar Dandot Bandana Anek Bar Jao Bar Prabh Ji Anek Bar Jao Bar Prabh Ji Tu mere pran aadhar. So note-wise, it's. I'll wait till the sum. Sa re ga ma pa ma ga re ga re sa. I'm looking at the top line. Sa re ga ma pa ma ga re sa. Sa re ga ma pa ma ga re sa. Tu mere pran aadhar prabh ji. Tu mere pran aadhar prabh. So now let's do an Antra. So basically it'll start at this Antra. Uthat Vaithat Sod Jagat. I'll sing it once. Uthat Vaithat Sovat Jagat. Uthat Vaithat Sovat Jagat. Uthat Vaithat Sovat Jagat. Uthat Vaithat Sovat Jagat. So it's pa ni da ni sa ni da ni pa pa ni da ni sa ni da ni. Sorry, so that ni da ni pa, it kind of, you just hit the first ni, so it's pa ni da ni sa da ni pa pa ni da ni sa da ni pa. Uthat Vaithat Sovat Jagat. Uthat Vaithat Sovat Jagat. Then the next one is Eo man tuja Jitar Prabhuji. Eo man tuja Jitar Prabhuji. Again. Eo man tuja Jitar Prabhuji. I'll move over. सुख दुख इस मन की बिरथा. 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 तुझ ही आगे सारे प्रभु जी. 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 तू मेरे प्राण आधार प्रभु जी. Namaskar Dandot Van. So for this part, it's a little too low because I changed the scale a bit, but I'll sing on the higher ones. Namaskar Dandot Vandana. Namaskar Dandot Vandana. So that's me singing it higher. The way the reed goes is, so whichever way is more comfortable for you to sing, just sing that way. So, Namaskar Dandot Vandana. Namaskar Dandot Vandana. अनेक बार जाऊं बार प्रभु जी. अनेक बार जाऊं बार प्रभु. उनको नेक्स्ट अंतर है. तू मेरी ओट बल बुध तन तो मही. तू मेरी ओट बल बुध तन तो. Again. तू मेरी ओट बल बुध तन तो माही. तू मेरी ओट बल बुध तन तुमहि तुम मेरे परिवार प्रभु जी तुम मेरा परिवार प्रभु जी जो तुम कर हो सोई जो तुम कर हो सोई पल हमरा जो तुम कर हो सोई पल हमरे पिख नानक सुख चरनार प्रभु जी पिख नानक सुख चरनार प्रभु जी तू मेरे प्राण आधार प्रभु जी तू मेरे प्राण आधार प्रभु जी तू मेरे प्राण आधार प्रभु जी नमस्कार दंडोत वंदना अनेक बार जाऊं बार प्रभु जी अनेक बार जाऊं बार प्रभु जी तू मेरे प्राण आधार प्रभु जी तू मेरे प्राण आधार. So yeah, that was the Shabad. And if any of you didn't think you could learn Rag, you just did. You learned a Bilal Shabad. Again, you might not be like, oh, I don't have the keys on the Vaja. I'm sure we can send this out to everyone if need be. But the notes are there, and the tune is very simple. And I'll also send you Bhai Avtar Singh singing this recording. Again, he's singing in more of a male scale. So if you try to sing with it, for some of the women here, it'll be a little bit hard to sing with because you'll go really high, right? Same thing if the sings we're listening to like Bibi Jaswant Kaur or a chord basically. So what did we think? Was that easy? I don't know. Bole sonaha satyaka. So also just a mean. I know I explained it very briefly, but mean is when you can transition between the note. So for example, if I'm still in the Bilal, that's a mean. That's what the Vaja is missing. Another thing the Vaja is has anyone heard like Pehla Kala or Duja Kala? Basically, it's kind of, it's figuring out, Pehla Kala is literally the first black note, and then Duja Kala is the second. But it's basically standardizing, oh, here's my Sa. But the Sa never used to be like that. It was always with the Tanpura. Whatever the Tanpura was tuned to, and some people who had really good ears who always knew what that note was, you would tune the Tanpura to that note, and then you always match the Tanpura. So even that's another thing that the Vaja has done. It's kind of standardized a lot of where we actually sing in the placement. I'll just talk about resources really quick for the Kirtan. Basically the Taos, does anyone know what Taos means? Peacock, in Persian. I don't know the history too much of how it got its name, but the Mughal ruler at the time of Guru Har Gobind Sahib basically made a takat called Takat Taos. And Guru Har Gobind Sahib, to kind of supersede that, he gave the Taos the name of this Saj. So everyone has this name of Taos. That's the very brief history. If you search on YouTube history of Taos, you'll find it. Just some resources real quick. So by Saji, I'm sure we can send this out to you. But basically there's some links. So for the Kirtan, if you don't know where to start, here are a couple links. The first two are more standard. So There's some Sevadars like in our Panth that have done Bayant Seva for the Panth to actually get these recordings. I know one of my friend's dad, his name is Bhai Mohkum Singh. I don't know if you actually know. He's from in the Boston area. But basically, Mayor's dad, Amandeep, yeah. So basically, he actually, he heard that there was like, oh, Bibi Jaswant Kaur is still alive and she's out there. He asked like probably 10 different people, and then they got in contact with Bibi Jaswant Kaur's neighbor in India. The neighbor reached out to Bibi Jaswant Kaur, can he come and like record you? And then he like quit everything, or he like left all his things at home and flew down there just to record Bibi Jaswant Kaur and her old Rita. Again, she was very old at the time, and he saved them on this Gurmat Sangeet project on that link. And there you'll also hear a lot of, maybe I can play one, but you'll hear a lot of Rita with extra these like pyare words as well. You'll hear those.
Would you send like email this? Like how would we get these links from you?
I think a PDF version, you can click the links.
Oh, okay.
You should be, and if not, just copy and paste into a web browser.
Fun fact, I was in a buggy shop 2020, March 2020, and I bumped into them in there too.
Oh, by Sarpreet Singh? Oh, okay. For those who don't know, by Sarpreet Singh, he's very into rag and preserving the rag that we've lost. So yeah, he's done things like this. And he's created a whole page of Purtaan Kirtan. So that's a Gurmat Sangeet project. Kirtan Seva as well, posts lots of old recordings. And then I put some, my playlist on Kirtan SoundCloud. Some of them are Puratan Rita, some of them are just Rag Kirtan. But I mean, if you don't have nowhere to start there. And then this fourth one is Nirban Kirtan. They, on SoundCloud, they probably have the biggest collection of Kirtan I've seen. But also, they also have different styles of Kirtan as well, not just Rag. So if anyone's interested in learning a Rag, just look for certain Ragis that sing a Rag, and I've listed a couple here. Or I've also listed my personal contact information. If you need to reach out, literally just message me and be like, what Rag is this? What Tal is this? And what it was some good Kirtan to listen to? I'd love to help out in any way I can. Because when you listen to Rag Kirtan, it's one thing just to listen to it. It's another thing to actually know what Rag it is and what Tal it is as well. And if you really have nowhere to start, just go into YouTube and search Rag Kirtan. That's probably the easiest way. Or if you even want a specific, you're like, what does Mali Gora sound like? What does Gauri Maj sound like? Search Rag Gauri Maj Kirtan. Rag Mali Gora Kirtan. And with that, Pujukdi Khima. I made many mistakes, so please forgive me. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Inside joke. Sat Sri Akal. Any clarifications need to be made, or any questions anyone has?
Are there any recordings of your Kirtan?
There are, but there's a lot of better ones.